Hello, this is Blue Star, Defender of Equestria, and this is by AfterThought's review to the last 3 episodes of Tell Your Tale, which are Attack of the Vending Machines, No Place Like Home, and Slide for Your Lives. So we may as well just get the sad part out of the way, is that yes, these are the final 3 episodes of Tell Your Tale, so... But the good news is they were actually 3 pretty good episodes of Tell Your Tale, so... Starting with Attack of the Vending Machine, which in some ways really wasn't an attack of the vending machine. It was more like an attack in the vending machine, but I still kind of like this episode because it just feels so weird. The ponies get pulled into like this world inside the vending machine that's almost like an infinite magical world of food, and then they battle a giant, greedy, hungry Rakunicorn, and it was just so weird. But at the same time, I liked it because in some ways it was just so much fun. So, I kind of like the infinite magical food world, but it's also kind of scary because it's one of the times I wish I was a Pegasus because flying would be useful here. Fortunately for me, I have my lovely spaceship, the Morning Star, from an alternate universe, which would have actually been kind of useful in this episode because not only are we in this magical world, we also have to battle this giant, hungry, greedy Rakunicorn. And it's just so funny because, yeah, this is just so weird that we're having this, like, almost full-on magical battle inside this vending machine with, like, lollipops and soda and non-trademark candy. This episode just remains just so weird, but I kind of really like it. So, at first I'm surprised that Sunny doesn't, like, just, go into alicorn mode here. Because, yeah, if I was Sunny, I'd be like, oh my gosh, being able to fly would be really helpful here. Let's go to the alicorn mode. But at the same time, she becomes an alicorn exactly at the right moment. It's like, all right, that's it. You will not threaten my friend Hitch. So, the Rakunicorn is like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, aren't I? We haven't actually gotten to hear Sunny's mantra all that much, so it was actually kind of nice to hear her mantra here, so at the same time, I almost feel like her line should have been, alright, no pony or non-pony messes with one of my friends, so this was overall a kind of an unusual episode, because yeah, there have been like fun episodes, but this was almost like an exciting, like, battle episode in some ways, which for a show like this is in some ways a kind of a nice change in pace. And even though this episode was kind of weird, I overall really liked it, and it was a great, Sunny and Hitch episode, and overall it was fun and I enjoyed it. So, moving on to No Place Like Home. Oh, this episode was just so nice, but also so sad at the same time. But it was really cool to see Allura and Twitch's backstory. So, this is in some ways a typical episode for MLP in that there's almost 2 plots going on at the same time, almost an episode within an episode in some ways, which I think is actually very effective in this case, because the quote-unquote core story of this episode is basically Twitch really wants to go on the teacup rides at the board trot, and Allura is like, how many times do I have to tell you, Twitch? No. And I did do a focus on video specifically on Allura and Twitch in this episode, but in short, it was basically that it was just so amusing and fun watching Allura becoming the frustrated parent. Oh, all right, dear, only because it means so much to you. Looking at it from that way, and that Twitch and Allura are not just simply minion and supervillain, is that they're almost more like, parent and child. So, wow, that completely changes their relationship. So, and I actually kind of liked the core story. I thought it was actually pretty good, and it does balance out kind of the heavy things that are happening in the other side of this story, and overall it was really cool just seeing in some ways Allura and Twitch just in some ways just being them in some ways. So, and it was just so nice seeing that Allura actually does care about Twitch and that he's not just her minion. And that last scene with her, like, just patting him while he's going to bed, oh, that was just so nice. Aww. A few other interesting things before moving on to the other part of the story was that we got to see the friendship bracelet, quote-unquote, work outside the board trot and also work with something other than, you know, essentially a board trot activity. So as an MLP analyst, I found those things interesting, and again, they were just so nice. Obviously, they get a charm for riding the teacups, but Allura also got a charm for just being a loving mother, and it was just so touching. Aww. And it was also interesting to see the main six's almost quote-unquote end of day routine is that, yeah, they actually have to go and lock up the board trot and, you know, power everything down. They don't just go home and just leave the board trot open all the time because, well, I guess they just can't. And it was really funny trying to watch Allura being like, oh, it's closed. I guess we can't go. Oh, what a disappointment. And then we see that Twitch throws a temper tantrum. It's like, ah! And then Allura uses her ice powers to break into the board trot. But of course, you know, she does have the ability to fly, so she could just fly over, so... At the same time, that may have actually been kind of a good thing, because it reminds us how powerful and, yeah, threatening that Allura can be. The rest of this episode confirms that, yeah, that Allura may have done some bad things, but she is definitely not a supervillain. So, the second part of this story is basically Allura and Twitch's backstory. We start off with Twitch and Allura, how they actually met, and it's kind of surprising. I'd almost like to know the backstory of this backstory of, like, why is Twitch and Allura both floating on these pieces of ice in the middle of the ocean or a river or somewhere, I guess. Twitch basically is, you know, knocked onto Allura's piece of ice, and he's almost been gifted to her, almost like as her child in some ways. So, aww. And it was surprising to see that Allura was actually, you know, felt sympathy for this poor little bunny who was clearly in trouble. She could have been like, oh, you look delicious. Or she could have just been like, all right, I don't really care about this bunny, and just, you know, just ignored him, I guess. But no, she actually felt bad for him and like, oh, this bunny is in trouble, but you know what? I think we could be friends. Aww. After learning Allura's backstory, we can see why, because again, the long story short is that she's been alone for a very long time, so after all this time, she basically is open to, like, being friends with just about any creature that wants to be friends with her. So, roar! We learned that Allura's backstory, that when she was just a little kitten, that she and her brother were playing with at first I thought the Nova Charm, but then I remember in Secrets of Starlight, they did mention that it was basically a relic of the town that's been around for a while, so this could be like a different star and not the Nova Charm that we know. But regardless, it basically does the same exact thing where it opens these portals to who knows where in like basically the world of Equestria, which unfortunately was kind of bad for Allura because in some ways, in true, you know, curiosity killed the cat kind of way, she jumps through the portal without any idea of what it is, where it goes, even if she can come back, and that's why her brother's like, no, Allura, don't, you don't even know where, and then it's just too late. It's like, no, why, Allura, why? And it's just so sad because, yeah, she jumps through the portal, and then she turns around and realizes that there's no portal, and now I have no way to get back. So now she's separated from her brother, and now she's who knows where, and no! So she's been on her own, basically, since she was, you know, a little kitten, so that means that she's been alone for most of her life. And unfortunately, that everywhere she's gone, all the other creatures, even the monsters, are pushing her away, so, aww. Yeah, looking from the outside in is never a good place to be, so poor Allura. I really feel for her for that, so aww. I think these are all things that we can all relate to and get behind and can understand, and leads to why we can understand why she's so motivated to find the Nova Charm and why she's so upset when she sees the Nova Charm be destroyed, because like, that was like my one ticket home and now it's gone, that's it, all hope is lost, let's go back to the cave and sulk. No! Aww. I like doing that joke, but at the same time, after seeing this, it almost makes me feel sad, so aww. And definitely, while the ends don't justify the means, it does kind of show that Allura and Twitch are not really supervillains. Their goal isn't to like take over the whole of Equestria or anything like that. they just want to get back home and find a place where they fit in and they belong. So I think we can all understand that and get behind that. So overall, this episode was actually very good. I mean, this was definitely the episode that we needed to see to truly understand Allura and Twitch, because as she says, it's like, you don't know me. Well, she's right. Until this episode, we haven't. We've known her only as the minion and supervillain that did all these horrible things to the Aurora Corns, but now we can understand why. Again, the ends don't justify the means, but now we know the reason why, and I think if the ponies ever learned this, they would definitely change their opinion of her, which I guess is kind of the point of this episode, which I think overall it got across very well, and overall this was a very good Allura and Twitch episode. It was very informative of how Allura and Twitch met, how Allura got to the quote-unquote realms of Equestria, if you will. However, the core story things that are happening at the board trot kind of balance out the heavy things that are going on in sort of the backstory side. So overall, this is still actually a pretty enjoyable episode, and overall, I really liked it. So, roar! And I'm so glad that we got to learn about Allura and Twitch's true character. So, roar! So now on to Slide for Your Lives. Wait, are we going to an Izzy-inspired water park? Oh my gosh, I definitely need to change for this episode. Oh, that just feels so much better. It's nice to take off the armor once in a while, and I definitely enjoy wearing my pony flotation device, which is fortunate for me because considering how this episode ends, all the ponies might have wanted to have been wearing one, so no! In some ways, this is kind of a typical episode of MLP. It's, you know, in some ways the ponies just coming together to just enjoy themselves and stuff, especially after the last episode, which was a very, in some ways, heavy and difficult episode. It was so nice to have an episode where the ponies are just having fun, enjoying themselves at a water park. Yay! Although I'm sure the animation team are going, wait, you wanted to build an entire water park, like, on the water and, like, all the ponies are going to be swimming? Oh, did we do something wrong? The short answer is, I don't think animators like dealing with water and characters being in water, because in this technology is kind of difficult, but honestly, I think they handled it really well. So, roar. It was just so nice, you know, seeing Izzy's creativity being unleashed in her, like, rainbow creativity power. The thing that was cool is that we got to see Comet and Sunny actually contributing in some ways to the magic that's being used to create this water park. It's not exactly a great moment, but it does kind of fall into that category of things that make this more than just another television show, because it was just so nice seeing all the ponies coming together to actually create the water park and not just, oh, I just created a water park out of nowhere, so it was fun watching them being excited. Ooh, what else, Izzy? What else? I can't help but think, is it because they think that, oh, she's actually going to create the water park and these things are going to happen? Or just, oh, that just sounds really exciting, Izzy. Come on, tell us more. We want to hear more. Yay! Probably a little of both, but yeah, I did find it interesting that, yeah, the Comet was actually able to contribute his quote-unquote magic, especially in the way that he's saying, oh, now I won't have to sweat so much. And then Sunny says, oh, then every pony could be together. Aw, I love that. That is so Comet, and that is so Sunny. And that's what makes this so special, though. So, roar. In some ways, they're contributing what makes them to this, you know, in some ways, water park, and I really like that. So, roar. And obviously, on a day where it's so hot that the smoothie cups are melting, I'm sure a lot of other ponies were thinking what Comet was thinking, so but it's also kind of the reason why you would want to go to a water park. Being a water park / water person, it's like, I think automatically I like this episode because it's like, oh, it's an Izzy water park episode. Oh, yes. The interesting thing about this water park is that it is actually built, like, on the water. It's not just like this area with water slides. It's actually on the water, like in the ocean and stuff. So interesting. I couldn't help but Google this and see, is this actually a thing? Because this is actually, in some ways, an interesting idea. It sorta is. There are these, I'm gonna call them giant inflatable adventure playground kind of thing. It's sort of like these big, like, inflatable rafts that you can, like, run around and jump on and do all these fun things on. So, in some ways, this is actually kind of a thing, and it actually looks like fun. So, yo! In a lot of ways, most of this episode is just watching the ponies just, you know, jumping down the water slides, you know, floating around in the water, having fun with each other. I did enjoy watching Zoom and Thunder with the giant water bucket thing. Yeah, but dumping an entire giant bucket of water on your commanding officer could be a court-martial offense. Or at the very least, she might want to. Well, it kind of balanced out because, you know, she got covered in water, and then he gets covered in water right after hers, and they all have a good laugh, and it's all a good time. So, yay! And it's nice to see even the guard characters having fun with this. So, and ultimately, that's why I think I just liked this so much, was that we got to, you know, just see the ponies just having a good time, you know, sliding down the slides, just, you know, floating in the water, just enjoying the water park. It's just so nice. I kind of found it interesting that Zip is not adventure. She's just like just floating in like almost like the lazy river kind of thing. It's like, oh, that was kind of interesting. Well, obviously princesses need to relax, and in fact, that's probably kind of why Queen Haven and Alphabet are here. It's like, hey, wait, what are they doing here? Aren't they supposed to be in like Bridalwood and Zephyr Heights? But I guess word travels fast. So yeah, I kind of liked what was going on with Alphabet and Queen Haven. It was just so, you know, amusing. It almost feels almost very childish. No, don't get my hair all wet. I've just had it done. It's like, oh, here come the waves. Alphabet would probably get thrown out of the pool because, yeah, A, making waves is bad, especially to the point where you knock other ponies off their rafts and into the water, so, oh dear. Well, I guess at the end of this episode, I guess he kind of pays for it. Oh, I'm sorry, dear. I like your mane this way. It's nice. It was actually really nice. And so Izzy comes up with this idea of, oh, wouldn't it be great if this whole water park just disappeared and we had to swim all the way back? And like all the ponies are going, no, 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 don't do that. Because then it actually happens. It's really funny, but it's also kind of sad at the same time because we're having a nice relaxing swim or float in the water park, and now we find ourselves in the middle of the ocean wondering, oh no, will I get back to shore? It is kind of funny watching, you know, Sunny almost like basically be washed up on shore like she's almost survived like a shipwreck or something. But it's also kind of sad because it's like, aw, poor ponies. They were having such a good time. And I can't help but also but think it's like, how come the Pegasi, you know, had to swim back? But it's always been my headcanon that if a Pegasi gets their wings wet, like wet, like jumped into the ocean wet, that they can't fly until they kind of dry off a little bit. So maybe that's what happened here. All our poor pony heroes basically have to swim back to shore, and there was definitely one mare pony who was full on drowning. Wait, what? Oh no! Don't worry, I'll save you! Don't worry, every pony, everything's fine. I knew that elective Royal Guard lifeguard course was gonna come in handy. Roar! Going into Blue Star headcanon mode a little bit, I have this vision of Blue Star showing up at the water park with his pony flotation device and having two other ponies almost like making fun of him. Then all of a sudden the water park disappears and they're all floating in the ocean, and then you look over at Blue Star looking like, you know, we wish we were wearing those right now. No! Sure, it's making a bigger deal of that than it really is, but it was in some ways a really fun moment, and in some ways a practical one as well, because yes, this is a true water park that's built on the water. Having this water park be out in the middle of the ocean long term, I think long story would be probably problematic. But fortunately, our pony heroes took it well, as they usually do, with a laugh and stroll off screen, while Sunny makes what I would say is an incredibly ironic and appropriate line. It was fun while it lasted. Yes, it's technically not the last line of the series, but I feel like that is in some ways the perfect line to, you know, in some ways end this episode and tell your tale on. So again, thank you, ponies, for all the amazing lessons and adventures, and I have definitely enjoyed this generation. So, but of course, what really is the last line is basically Queen Haven walking off all like, why did you let my mane get all wet? and then Alpha Biddle basically trying to be nice. I think it looks good that way, so I feel like there's more to that moment than we can see, but at the same time, I think in some ways it speaks for itself, so overall, I really liked this episode a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was nice seeing the ponies coming together and to do something as fun as just simply enjoying a water park together. And in some ways, it kind of shows what the series was all about. You know, ponies coming together to, you know, solve their problems and or just have a good time with each other. So, nah. And overall, it was a good episode. And if we're gonna end the series, I'm glad that it ended on an episode like this. So as much as I enjoy wearing my pony flotation device, I think it's time I go change. So overall, the last 3 episodes were actually pretty good. Attack of the Vending Machine perhaps isn't my favorite, but it was fun. No Place Like Home was really informative and was actually a really good Allura and Twitch episode. And Slide for Your Lives was just a fun, entertaining episode that in some ways kind of embodies what the series is all about. And I feel like in some ways that was a great episode to end this series and possibly this generation on. So I'm really glad that we got to see what we saw in the last 3 episodes, because they were both fun, entertaining. We got to see things about the characters that we really in some ways needed to see. And if we're gonna end the series, I'm glad that we ended it this way on a positive, happy note, and just seeing the ponies enjoying themselves and being in some ways who and what they are. And it was just so great. So, roar. So ends Tell Your Tale. Once again, thank you to all the hardworking people who worked so hard to make Tell Your Tale possible and a reality. I know that you did your very best, and I appreciate your efforts because it was an overall okay series, and I enjoyed it. So, roar! So this is the end of my very last Afterthoughts review for Tell Your Tale. But don't worry, everybody, I still have at least one more episode for this generation to make, and I hope that you enjoy it. So, roar! And by the way, ponies, this may be the end of Tell Your Tale, but I am not going anywhere because I am not through being Defender of Equestria. And as long as there are ponies worth defending, I will be there. And I hope that you will be too. So, roar! Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go back and see if Izzy can make the water park again, because I could really use a good swim right now. So, roar! So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you for commenting, liking, and subscribing, and until next time, this is Blue Star. Stay strong, and pony on. Blue Star out.